The market rally continues to stall with an escalating Israel-Iran war and more hawkish than expected Fed. It was sort of an awkward week with markets closed in the middle on Thursday. After an early rebound, markets limped into Friday with escalating Middle East tension and a disappointing Fed meeting. So a quick recap. Monday started the week rebounding higher on reports Iran was seeking a ceasefire. If you remember last week, markets fell after Israel bombed Iranian military and nuclear facilities. Oil pricing had surged Friday and really since the start of the month as the tensions brewed. On Monday, though, oil pricing stabilized a bit with investors cautiously optimistic production wasn't being targeted. However, the gains were short-lived with markets sharply pulling back on Tuesday. The de-escalation optimism was fading with the attacks continuing. In addition, retail sales fell in May, more than expected, and meanwhile, the June Fed meeting finally got underway. So Wednesday, markets were higher initially with investors hoping for the Fed to signal rate cuts were coming. Investors had been drooling over the last 3 months of inflation progress and expected the Fed to finally have the data they were looking for. However, Fed disappointed them. Despite the recent inflation progress, Powell stressed the Fed was more focused on the future inflation expectations from shifting policy, particularly tariffs. As we mentioned last week, the Fed still sees too much uncertainty to be comfortable that the recent inflation progress is indicative of the future. If anything, the recent inflation progress, along with the resilient jobs market, actually gives the Fed more time to put off rate cuts longer. Markets ended essentially flat Wednesday, but gave up early morning gains pre-Fed commentary. Markets were closed on Thursday for Juneteenth, but opened again on Friday. The market pessimism continued from Wednesday with Friday lower as well. So what now? Well, end of month consumer data will be on the docket with confidence on Tuesday and the final sentiment data Friday. However, we also expect updates on both the Israel-Iran war and tariffs at some point. The question of what's the US's involvement in the Middle East conflict should be decided in the next couple of weeks. In addition, the global tariffs deadline is rapidly approaching, and we expect imminent announcements for either further delays or actually imposing the tariffs. The seasonally slow summer isn't shaping up that way so far. We'll see what happens next week.